Not long ago, Bajaj made some rather brazen references to elephants in a promotional video about the Dominar. Now, the Dominar was a capable motorcycle, but it wasn't exactly a blockbuster, and that meant the Dominar turned out to be, well, the elephant in the room for Bajaj. Not everyone believed the Dominar could replace Royal Enfields, and it didn't, as it turns out. And what didn't help further was the fact that it was a bit heavy, mildly vibey at mid-revs, and then there was a suspension, or so they led you to believe. So, Bajaj decided to rework the Dominar a bit and decided to bring it closer to the Pulsar CS400 that it displayed at the 2014 Auto Expo, something that got us so excited. Yes, this is that motorcycle.
To make this happen, they threw away that fat 43mm telescopic fork and replaced it with a fat 43mm upside-down fork, bumped up the power by 4.5 HP and moved, like the new 390 Duke, to a double overhead camshaft setup, in addition to reworking the exhaust unit. It also chose not to add any more spark plugs to the mix, keeping the number at a healthy 3. Apart from that, Bajaj has worked on smaller details as well, such as the revised secondary instrument display that now gives you detailed riding data such as average speed, dynamic and average fuel consumption, fuel range, trip time, and more. However, this display is only easy to read if your eyes are positioned somewhere near your chin. Visually, the only big noticeable differences are the swanky cast aluminium mirrors, the blacked out bits of bodywork, and the alloy wheels that are no longer golden but have gone back to being black with polished outer edges. However, has the sum of all of these new parts made it greater on the whole?
Now that's a question I can answer only if I ride it. So can I please go ride it now?
At the risk of stating the obvious, yes, it is faster. More importantly though, it feels better suited to sustaining highway speeds because the vibrations are down to a minimum, emerging only past 8000 RPM at mainly the pegs and to some extent at the seat. The handlebar thankfully remains muted for the most part. The fuel-injected motor certainly feels a bit crisper, and Bajaj has put in some good work to make it more refined. It also now uses its generous spread of torque and enjoyable mid-range to better effect than before, and on the whole, it makes for much better company on the highway. Also helping matters is a slipper clutch equipped 6-speed gearbox, which certainly makes quick shifts a niggle-free process. 100 km per hour comes up at roughly 6000 RPM in 6th gear, at which point the Dominar's engine feels fairly unstressed, and it would be fair to guess it has a marginally better top speed than before, perhaps going just past 160 kph.
But the point of a Dominar, if I understand it correctly, is not just about going from point A to point B very fast, it's also about getting there comfortably. Now, the older bike wasn't quite perfect in this regard, but you would imagine that the newer bike has gotten much better, right?
Thankfully, it has indeed. Bajaj has addressed the firm suspension by not only sourcing an upside-down fork from the KTM 390 Duke, but also revising the preload adjustable monoshock's performance. The result is, as you would guess, softer suspension, although it isn't soft enough to rob the Dominar of cornering composure, except at very high triple-digit speeds. The USD fork has also made it less demanding of steering effort, especially on slower, tighter curves. The MRF tyres have always been wide and grippy enough anyway, and on the whole, these insightful updates have delivered swift justice to that perimeter frame which was to some extent underutilized in the previous edition. Another improvement to the Dominar has come in the form of braking feel, since it now offers better progression and feel, in addition to the decent bite it already offered, although it's still not the best in the business. The eagle-eyed amongst you will notice that the front disc has been mounted on the other side of the wheel now, and that's because the KTM-sourced fork chooses to wear it that way. And just like before, ABS cannot be disengaged on the Dominar, but you should be happy that it continues to be a dual-channel unit and that it works very well.
By the look of it, Bajaj does seem to have taken the right steps to make the Dominar more appealing. But I do hear some of you say, is it too little, too late?
To be fair, it isn't too little at all, but the timing could have been better. You see, in the time since the Dominar first came into being, motorcyclists like you and I evolved quickly towards wanting retro-style machines or adventure tourers. The Dominar, by the look of it, is neither. In terms of capability, the Dominar can do most things your average entry-level tourer can, but it could have done with an added dash of visual drama, perhaps with some purposeful, go-anywhere touches and some tactical equipment. It's not so much about Bajaj selling you a better bike than it is about them selling you a better dream. But maybe now simply isn't the time. Also, to be fair, the Dominar is better at what it was trying to be, but it just doesn't overpromise and nor does it overdeliver. Safe, in a word.
With no direct competition in sight, Bajaj is now free to price the Dominar without anyone breathing down its neck. That means Bajaj may price the new Dominar at 1.8 lakh rupees ex-showroom, which is a fair increment given the added equipment and performance it offers. The best part is, it still handsomely undercuts other big singles like the TVS Apache RR310, the Honda CB300R and the BMW G310R as well.
And does this mean the elephant in the room has finally been addressed? Let's just not bring those up for now, because elephants, as they say, don't forget. Look at the Dominar as a fast, stylish, affordable, comfortable and up-to-date everyday motorcycle, however, and it now makes a lot more sense than before. And maybe, just maybe, that's all it had to do in the first place.